right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, in addition to the announcement earlier that we got from Arnold Schwarzenegger himself that he's increasing the prize money for men's open bodybuilding first place to $750,000, the Arnold Classic has also announced that they will be paying out $100,000 to first place of Classic Physique. So now both men's open bodybuilding and Classic Physique will be paying more at the Arnold in 2026 than at the Olympia. Now, we still don't know if the Olympia is going to raise their prize money, and if so, how much, if they're going to match the Arnold, if they're going to exceed the Arnold. But right now, the Arnold is currently the leading bodybuilding show in prize money for arguably the two most popular divisions, men's open bodybuilding and Classic Physique, and I think this is just awesome. I said this in my previous video, but I think this is the exact type of thing and probably the only thing that is going to force change and raise the bar across the board in bodybuilding when it comes to things like prize money. Again, in that other video, we kind of looked back, and there were like these long periods of time, including like the last decade, at the Olympia, which is the biggest competition in bodybuilding, or maybe now you could say was. But there were these long stints of time where the prize money virtually didn't change at all for a decade, 2 decades, and in some cases, in those multiple decades, maybe it came up $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. But Arnold bumping it to $750,000 for men's open bodybuilding, when you bear in mind that Derek Lunsford, when he won the Olympia, he won $400,000. That was just 2 years ago. So if by Arnold raising his prize money to $750,000 forces the Olympia to surpass the Arnold if they want to be considered the number one show, in theory, they would be going over $800,000. So because of this move by Arnold, the prize money at the Olympia will have effectively been doubled in a 2-year span of time. And again, that's if they decide to raise it and try to continue to match or exceed what Arnold is doing. But that is like real, legitimate change. And it's the same thing with Classic Physique. I mean, Chris Bumstead's almost his entire career, the Classic Physique prize money was $50,000 or less for first place. And by Arnold raising it to $100,000, it effectively almost doubles the Classic Physique prize money. At last year's Olympia, Chris Bumstead won $60,000. So the Arnold is literally almost double that now. So this is not small changes, and that's why I think it's such a big story, is in a sport, in an industry where you see the prize money just creep up and increase extremely slowly over decades of periods of time, where you might only see a $50,000 or maybe $100,000 increase over decades. You're seeing in a couple of years $250,000 increases from year to year. In the Arnold's case, it was $500,000 this year. Next year, it's a $250,000 increase. These are things that you just don't typically see in bodybuilding, and Arnold is forcing that change. And that's why I think this is such a big deal. And even beyond that, the total prize money at the Arnold will be $1.5 million across all the divisions. And I believe even third place, so second place will probably be something like $250,000. We'll get the exact numbers here soon. But I believe even third place, so even if you're top 3 at the Arnold, even third place is a 6-figure payday, which is bigger than most bodybuilding shows for first place by a lot. And then on top of that, the UK show is coming back. It's going to be just weeks after the Ohio show. And that's going to have $250,000 for first, which I think is especially pertinent now. We're having this conversation about the Triple Crown. What is the Triple Crown in bodybuilding? We just had the Pittsburgh Pro. A lot of people consider that to be the Triple Crown, as winning Pittsburgh, winning the Arnold, and winning the Olympia. But if there's a UK Arnold Classic that has a $250,000 prize money for first, I think you're going to see a show like Pittsburgh have to increase their prize money significantly to still be in that conversation as one of the top 3 biggest shows. Otherwise, I think the logic would say it would be the UK show. So I think not only will you see this impact on the Olympia, but you will see it on other shows as well. And then you've got the Dubai show, which I believe is $140,000 for first this year. I think when they see the UK show at $250,000, they're probably going to increase theirs as well because they want to be one of the top shows. And again, just think about the fact that only a few years ago, just a few years, there was not a single pro show outside of the Arnold or the Olympia where you could win a six-figure payday for first. And now look how many different options there are where you can win $100,000 plus outside of the Arnold or the Olympia. This is a massive change in a positive direction for bodybuilding. It's huge. It really is a big deal. And I think that you're going to see this directly reflected in the lineups. I think the UK and the US Arnold Classics being that close to each other, I think the Ohio show will have an insane lineup. And with that big of an incentive, the next week or the next couple weeks at the UK, I think you'll probably see most of that lineup return for the rematch. So I think you will legitimately have an Olympia caliber lineup at the Arnold Classic Ohio. And then you'll probably see most of that lineup return for essentially a second Olympia caliber lineup rematch just weeks later. I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that. It's like getting two Olympias in the same month. Because the prize money at this point is just so undeniably insane. $750,000 is just so far beyond what we've seen in bodybuilding up to this point. I really can't imagine that Samson or even Hottie or Derek or Nick, I mean, any of these top guys, whether they're a Mr. Olympia champ or not, I can't see anybody skipping this because the money is so insane. I mean, look how far we've come if you go back to the 80s. I mean, we talked about these different eras of the Mr. Olympia, but in the early 80s, they finally bumped the prize money up from $15,000, which was the all-time high in the late 70s, $15,000, to in the 80s, $25,000. That was like a massive step forward for bodybuilding, and it remained that way for Arnold in 1980, Franco in 81, Chris Dickerson in 82, Samir Bannout in 83, and then eventually bumped up to $50,000 for Lee Haney. But look how far we've came, and this was 40 years ago, from $50,000 for winning the biggest show in bodybuilding to now $750,000 at the Arnold Classic. This is real progress. And I think that the criticism will probably be this. I think the Olympia, especially in that recent interview that we saw from Dan Solomon, I think their response is going to be, well, we have all the divisions, and we're leading in prize money for divisions that the Arnold doesn't even have. And I think that Arnold, his response to that, and he talked a little bit about this at this year's Arnold Classic at the Sunday seminar, is that one of the things that he believes in for the bodybuilding competition, for the show itself, is he wants a manageable show that's a reasonable amount of time that people will actually sit and watch. And that's a big reason why he doesn't have all the categories at his show. He doesn't want a 7-hour night show. He wants a more manageable 3-hour night show that people will actually sit, watch, and enjoy and not get tired of being there. So I think that will probably be the biggest criticism against Arnold from the Olympia when I'm sure there's going to be some kind of response, some type of comment from them in response to this. And I'm sure it will include that based on the recent interview that we saw from Dan. But I got to be honest, I don't think anybody really cares about that. Would you rather have the Arnold be a 7-hour long show with all the divisions in way less prize money for classic physique and men's open bodybuilding, because then they have to spread out that prize money amongst all the divisions? Or would you rather see a more concise, manageable show that's more like 3 hours long and insane prize money attached to it? I think 99% of bodybuilding fans would rather see a shorter show with the most popular divisions, crazy prize money that's going to attract a crazy lineup. I think that's what most fans want to see. And actually, I just talked to Brian Powers from the Arnold, and he told me third place at the Arnold Classic, $150,000. Second place, $250,000. First place, $750,000. So literally, third place at the Arnold Classic is more than winning any other pro show, including Dubai in Pittsburgh. To place third, it pays more than winning any other pro show outside of the UK and the Olympia, of course. So again, I ask you guys, which bodybuilder do you think is going to pass this up? Even if you don't think you're going to win, which I'm sure most people are competing thinking they're going to win, but how many bodybuilders think they can take third and get $150,000? I would say all of them. And if you win, it's almost the same as winning 2 Mr. Olympias at Derek Lunsford's rate, $400,000. It's almost twice what the Olympia was paying up until 2023. So winning the Arnold is almost paying as much as winning 2 Olympias. And second place at the Arnold is $250,000. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But anyway, I think we've talked enough about the Arnold thing today. Let's get on to some other stories here. I want to do a little bit of a New York Pro preview. So Sas Heirati. This is one of the most interesting guys that I think is doing the New York show. And this is a posing video from Sas at just Days Out. Now, the reason why I say I think he's one of the most interesting guys in this lineup is because we haven't seen him against Nick Walker. He's had an incredible start to the season so far. He really pushed Bonac in Detroit. He really pushed Andrew Jacked at the FIBO show. He brings incredible condition, and the version of Sas that we've seen so far in 2025 has been maybe the best he's ever looked. And in this lineup, where nobody is really seeming like somebody that's going to push Nick for the title. I mean, I think on paper, Bonac is probably the favorite to be the number 2 guy or the guy that pushes Nick the most. I mean, he was just top 4 at the Pittsburgh show, and Martin and Derek are not doing it. So Bonac was the closest to Nick. But Sas, I would say, has some of the most wild card potential here because of how crazy he's been looking. And I really do think that he's going to be a top 3 guy here. I think he's got a really strong chance at being in a call-out, potentially a top 3 call-out with Nick and Bonac, which will be a huge, huge look for him. This video here, it looks like he's bringing that insane conditioning that he brought to FIBO, that he brought to Detroit. I mean, he's really impressed me, and I think he's really impressed a lot of you guys as well. And I think he's going to put on a pretty amazing showing in New York and probably be pretty close to wherever Nick Walker lands, which I'm assuming will be first. But I really like Sas for top 3 here and potentially top 2. I mean, like I said, you can look at this update from Bonac. This is the most recent update from Bonac, but obviously we just saw Bonac on stage in Pittsburgh. We saw him on stage in Detroit. We know how Bonac is looking. He's been looking incredible. And on paper, like I said, he was the closest to Nick. They were separated only by Martin, and Martin's not going to be there. So on paper, he's the most likely guy to be top 2. But I think you could see an upset from Sas Heirati where maybe not only is Sas top 3, but I think he's got a chance at being top 2. And how huge would that be for him if you got a top 2 two-man call-out with Nick Walker, who just tied a former Mr. Olympia at the Pittsburgh Pro? That's a meteoric rise for Sas's career if he pulls that off. And that's a big if because, like I said, Bonac is pretty much – it seems like Bonac is going to be the guy that's closest to Nick. On paper, he's probably the favorite to push Nick the most. I mean, we saw Crizzo. Crizzo's doing the show. But with the conditioning that Sas brings, I can see him beating Crizzo. And Regan Grimes is kind of a wild card here, too. We don't really know what he's going to look like. I like Regan. I like his physique. He just hasn't really seemed to hit the nail on the head every time that he's looking crazy on Instagram and then he competes. It just doesn't seem like he's really put it together perfectly yet. And then considering the fact that Regan really kind of last minute decided and announced that he's doing New York doesn't make me super optimistic that he's in, the best shape of his life here because he just announced it like a week ago. And in the video where he announced it, he said he just made the decision that he's doing it that day. So it seemed kind of last minute. And that doesn't really lead me to believe he's in like world beater condition. But I don't know. Who knows? He's kind of a wild card for me here. Maybe Regan comes in looking incredible and Regan could crack the top 3. But my eyes right now are really drawn to Sas, and I'm very curious to see what he's able to do here. And I'm kind of curious to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Who do you think in this lineup for New York? Let's pull up the competitor list again. Who do you think in this lineup is the biggest threat to Nick Walker? Who do you think has the biggest shot at being number 2? Or do you think anybody is a threat to Nick Walker in this lineup? Do you think anybody here is really giving Nick a run for his money for that top spot? Or do you think this is Nick's show all day long unless he comes in off? I'm very curious to hear what you guys think in the comments below. And also about the Arnold thing. I know we've talked a lot about it today, but I'm curious to see what you guys think about the Classic Physique prize money now. The $750 for first, $250 for second, $150 for third, $250 for first at the UK show just weeks after the Ohio. I mean, this is an insane week for bodybuilding. And beyond bodybuilding, the world's strongest man is also this weekend. I mean, this is a great time to be a fan of bodybuilding, fitness, strongman. This is a crazy month. So this weekend we've got the New York Pro. We just got the Arnold announcement. We've also got Larry Wheels trying to get his pro card. If he gets his pro card, we might also have the Larry Wheels pro debut in Ireland. You might also get the Larry Wheels Olympia qualification in Ireland. That's a big if. You've also got World's Strongest Man this weekend. I mean, how much better does it really get? And this is all following the Pittsburgh Pro, which is one of the closest shows we've seen in arguably years. And I really thought that after the Arnold Classic, Derek beating Samson at the Arnold would be one of the most talked about bodybuilding results in a very long time, because it was such a big, it was such a big deal, the fact that a reigning Mr. Olympia was defeated, and people talked about that for weeks to come. But, I mean, you look at the conversation after the Pittsburgh Pro, people are still talking about it. All the podcasts are still debating on the Nick versus Derek thing, and it's almost been a week ago. This is a hell of a year for bodybuilding, and I'm loving it, man. And the final story that I've got for you guys today, these recent updates of Rafael Brandao posing in Steve Weinberger's gym for Steve. And Rafael has been a guy that we haven't talked about much really at all, as far as him being one of the top guys going into the Olympia this year. And that's really because he qualified very early for the Olympia. He's already qualified, and he doesn't need to compete between now and the Olympia. So that's why we're not talking about him, is he's not doing any shows. He doesn't need to do any shows. And he's kind of just focused on that. And as you can see in this video, he looks bigger than he's ever looked. And it's crazy to think about, because we've talked about all these guys. I mean, you're seeing all the top guys at the Olympia, again, with the exception of Hadi. All the top guys are doing all these shows, even though they're qualified. So you're seeing all these crazy lineups ahead of the Olympia. So we're talking a lot about these guys that are doing these shows as being, front runners going into the Olympia. But Rafael, having qualified so early, I feel like has fallen a little bit out of that conversation, but he's still one of the best bodybuilders in the world, and he could make some noise at the Olympia. And based on these updates, to me, it looks like he's added a ton of size since the last time we saw him on stage. And I think we're going to see a really good version of Rafael at the 2025 Mr. Olympia, and I feel like he's going to be in that top 10, really making some waves. And another thing, too, to consider, I want to touch on the prize money thing again, because I was thinking about this, too. I wonder if there's any possibility that this prize money at the Arnold is so crazy that you could see, maybe a big comeback. I mean, Chris Bumstead seems like he's done. And 100K probably doesn't really move the needle for him in Classic Physique, but, to do an open show, if Chris wanted to do the open Arnold, even taking third place would be 150, but that 750 number is just such a big draw. Could you see a massive comeback for like a retired bodybuilder, like a Phil Heath or a Kai Green? I mean, 750 is big money for a bodybuilder. No matter how rich you think these guys are off a supplement deal or sponsorship, $750,000 for winning one show, that's big money to almost anybody. Chris Bumstead and Sam Sulek might be the two exceptions to that, because they are making such crazy money. But 750 to really anybody else is a huge deal. And I don't know this for sure, but this is a rumor that I heard, like, to put it in perspective. I heard that Sam is making over $1 million a month, and he has been for a couple years now. So, I mean, that's kind of crazy perspective with the 750, but that's what I mean when I say maybe Sam and Chris are the exceptions, because they're making crazy money. But anyway, this video is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Just let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel, and consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.